Welcome, my friends, to Unity South Twin Cities. Here on this beautiful summer-like day, toward the end of October, it's a surprise. And we've got a lot of surprises today and in the weeks to come. So my inspiration, I invite you to join me in this, is our opening prayer to make friends with the new. To make friends with the new. Father, Mother God, we acknowledge you are always and everywhere present. That means here now. That means among us, within us, throughout this world. We are grateful. We are grateful for the good coming our way, the new opportunities in our life, in our ministry. We now remember each and every one, opening our minds, expanding our hearts to embrace the new, to welcome new experiences without any sense of inconvenience, confusion, or any sense of, let's just keep the old. We are grateful that as each new day comes and offers us experiences we've never encountered, we will do our part to keep an open mind, an open heart to all that comes our way, all that comes into this church. We welcome it as an expression of your life, substance, and good. And so it is. Amen. Well, today I welcome all of you that have joined us this morning. I enjoy seeing your smiles here this morning. Welcome all of our friends who've joined us online as well. You bring your special gift of consciousness and focus to this service of celebration. Today, I welcome our music director, Judy Moen, and our soloist, Colleen Wold-Hiebler, today. Looking forward to their music. Wow, wow, wow. We have Mr. Unity Man back here operating sound, Tyler, Joe on the computer and cameras, and a supervisor. Oh no, he's taking it easy back there. So thank you for making all good things possible during this service. And now, you may notice that we've kept our announcements confined to the bulletin and our website and our e-newsletter so as to free up our time during the service. But once in a while, situations come that just have to be announced from the stage. All this good. I'm going to begin with something near and dear to my heart. We have long considered, it was presented at the March membership meeting as a goal this past year, but it's really an old idea that's been floating around for a while, and that is to have a big screen over here for our services. Why? For special events such as workshops, so that we can have our song words on the screen. We can show announcements before the service begins here. And also a long dream of mine has been to be able to have live video interviews with my friends in Unity around the country. And that can all happen now that we have our technology and we just need a screen. So I thought, well, what's Unity teach? If you see it, it's yours to do. So our project is about $1,200 for the screen. I'm putting up the first 300. I just mentioned it to someone in the hallway and they said, we're writing a check, we're doing the second 300. So if you're interested in supporting that project for the benefit of our sanctuary and all our activities, please see me. It'll be a simple campaign, and you can directly talk to me if you'd like to contribute toward that. Now, in an even bigger way, are you ready? Is everybody listening? We have worked a long time to envision, ever since I came to this church, a total redesign of our website, our presence to the outer world, and also technology that we can all use during the week to keep up on announcements, activities, signing up for classes, all kinds of good things. Two folks stepped forward months ago, Mark Johnson and Kelly von Heidenkampf, and gave 2/3 of the money. Then we received a grant for the rest of it, and it has been accomplished. And it went online 2 days ago. So unitysouth.org now takes you to an entirely new website. It is fascinating, with video interviews, lots of movement on the screen, all kinds of things we've never happened before, but also easy ways to do things like donate. And for my friends online, many of you have been asking me, why can't I set up a regular monthly contribution on your website? And that's been a problem in the past. Now you can. You can set up an ongoing contribution so you don't have to think about it each month. I'll be doing it because I like to have that organized and taken care of. So please, I invite you, before this day ends, be sure you go to unitysouth.org and see this wondrous site. And this has all been designed and accomplished by our good friend Adam Schneider, working with different committees in the church to try to bring everybody's needs together in the website. So it is thrilling. And we are grateful for those who helped launch this project and get it moving by their contributions. Third, today is the last day to order pizzas, which also benefit our church. Every pizza sold. I've got mine ordered. So Lindy Anderson is here. She can help you, but today is the last day to place orders. And I live in a building that doesn't like solicitation. So I just bought a whole bunch to put in my freezer for my winter meals. So enjoy ordering them for yourselves or for friends or for coworkers. And the last announcement I will make is next Sunday will be our innovative service. We've done each month where we've had 5 Sundays. This will be the last one for 2022, but look forward to 2023 because there will be 5 months, or 5 months with 5 Sundays, so there'll be 5 innovative services. We'll have a whole band next week, all kinds of excitement. And a 5th announcement, see Adam Schneider if you would like a little handout or more information. But Adam, his band, many of our musicians, Kelly, Brother Timothy, the Stephans, Thomasina Petrus, Bill Mann, are all coming together, as they did last summer, but instead of being in the park across the street, they're in an indoor venue in Uptown. You can learn more about it. Please register for your tickets. The tickets are free, but you need to register so they can be prepared with food and fixins for the whole day. It is 12:30 to 8:30? 12 to 8:30.
There should be one of these in your handouts.
And there's more literature in the rotunda about it. So, all these are friends of Unity South. So I know I will be there to support them, and I encourage you to attend. You don't have to attend the entire day, but pick out a time that you can be there and support our friends. So, what a fitting conclusion to my announcements. We're ready for our opening song, I'm Ready for a Miracle. You'll find it, hymn number 346 in your book. I'm ready for a miracle, Judy. Thank you for all of that energy and opening up of our hearts and minds. Charles Fillmore had a fascinating idea. He had many of them. But back in the 1920s, he said, you know, some of our religious songs are a little bit slow and draggy. He said, we need some new material to convey the new thought of unity and other organizations like it. So being a man of action, he hired Dr. Carl Frankheiser, who was the director of music for Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Seriously. Dr. Frankheiser became not only a composer for Unity, but at Unity World Headquarters, he was head of the Department of Music for radio station WOQ, which was and is considered the oldest religious radio station in the United States, beginning in 1922, until the government took away their frequency to give it to commercial usage. But during that time, Dr. Frankheiser composed, directed the Unity Band that was a favorite for many years, and at one point the mayor of Kansas City said, Dr. Frankheiser, we just had this idea of putting together a band with the very best musicians from our schools and sending them to a great event in New York City. So Dr. Frankheiser got all these kids practiced and ready with the music. The city bought them cowboy outfits and Palomino ponies, and they were a pony-riding, marching, prancing band, and they made a great hit in New York City. It was so exciting that Dr. Frankheiser continued for many years to lead this special band of young people in Kansas City for many events. So Charles just started with that simple idea, let's do something new and do it in a fun and exciting, joyful way. And that led to other composers such as Carmen Mosier, who wrote the song we just sang. Let us now acknowledge the presence central to our unity teaching, what binds us as a congregation, a people, unites us with others throughout the world, is the recognition of the divine spark. We call it the Christ within each individual. This is absolutely central to our work. So I invite you to look around the room, see your friends. You may have already talked about your activities of the week, but this is a special time of acknowledgement. Look around the room and hold a thought or even speak it out loud. I behold the Christ in you. I see God expressing in your life. I see the highest and best within you. And now let's reach a little further, greeting our friends online that we don't physically see, but we know they are with us. Turn and look at the camera in the back, wave and greet them, and together let us say, "We behold the Christ in you." Wherever you are, whoever you are, we know there is a spark of God within you. It is your power. It is your guidance. And we invite you to recognize it in all that you meet this week. God is coming to meet you in the form of others. And now it is my privilege and pleasure to invite our board treasurer and our prayer chaplain, Nancy Lee, to share with us the daily word and our community prayer.
Today, Sunday, October 23rd, 2022, the word is prosperity. With God as my source, I live abundantly. No matter how much I have in the bank, the kind of car I drive, or the house I live in, I know these things are mere manifestations of abundance. The source of all prosperity is God. I look beyond appearances to find a deeper meaning of prosperity. Meaningful work that I enjoy doing is part of my prosperity, not only because of what I earn, but also because of the satisfaction I feel when I use my skills. My house becomes a home when filled with people I love and care for. My financial resources don't diminish, but multiply when I share them generously. As I look beyond the good things in my life to the love, the creative insight, and the limitless flow of divine ideas that brought them into manifestation, I discover true abundance. From Proverbs 8, chapter 8, verse 18. Riches and honors are with me, enduring wealth and prosperity. Let's take a moment to think about prosperity. And let us now take a moment to come together for community prayer. This is a time when together we bond our minds and our spirits in praying together and recognizing the power that that brings to our lives and to the lives of others. So as you are comfortable, if you'll just settle in your seat, let go of the worries that may be out there. Just breathe a little and focus your mind. Our silent unity affirmation is, by faith, I perceive the true and real within every experience. Let me see through the eyes of faith the truth of divine power and presence at the core of every experience. By faith, I trust what I cannot yet see. As circumstances unfold, I remain faith-filled and faithful. I know good and only good now as well as in the days ahead. Our community, whether our family here within Unity South or our family that we consider our blood relatives or our family in the external world, may not always manifest in the ways we desire. So it is in realizing that all relationships, events, and desires require time and space to integrate into the true and real experience that they are through faith. I must not give up, but hold fast to the promise of faith, but the size of a mustard seed. What I cannot see physically may be germinating wondrous opportunities if I but be patient. And so I will. I'd like to acknowledge the prayer requests that Unity South have received here in our prayer box. We behold and affirm the truth within these individuals. We know that Spirit is working in their lives as they further awaken to the presence of God as their health, supply, and sense of purpose. Let's take a few moments to just focus on our prayer and the prayers that are here in our prayer box. And for this we are ever grateful that by faith I perceive the true and real within every experience. Thank you, God. Let us now sing the Lord's Prayer and feel the truth that is expressed in this model of prayer taught by Jesus Christ.
Drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. I believe that somewhere in the darkest night a candle glows. I believe for everyone who goes astray, someone will come to show the way. I believe, I believe, I believe above of the storm, the smallest prayer will still be heard. I believe that someone in the great somewhere hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why I believe. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know I believe.
For stirring up that awareness within us. I believe. I believe. We all believe in something. We all believe in something. Where is your focus? Is it on the possibility? Or is it on the apparent problem before you? Everything is conspiring today, from our daily word, our prayer time, our music, and hopefully this lesson, to help us realize how creative we are by our focus, where we put our attention. What an old-time Unity minister called, "Where is the train of your thought going?" I want to begin with a story. Little boy in a baseball hat stands in the field with his ball and bat. Says, "I am the greatest player of them all." Puts his bat on his shoulder as he tosses up his ball. And the ball goes up, and the ball comes down. He swings his bat all the way around. The world's so still you can hear the sound as the baseball hits the ground. Now the little boy doesn't say a word. He picks up the ball. He's undeterred. Says, "I'm the greatest there has ever been." And he grits his teeth and he tries again, and the ball goes up and the ball comes down. He swings his bat all the way around. The world's so still you can hear the sound. The baseball falls to the ground. He makes no excuses. He shows no fears. He just closes his eyes and listens to cheers. Little boy, he adjusts his hat, picks up his ball, stares at his bat, says, "I am the greatest. The game is on the line." And he gives it his all one last time. And the ball goes up like the moon so bright. Swings his bat with all his might, and the world's so still, as still can be, and the baseball falls. And that's strike three. Now it's supper time, and his mama calls. Little boy starts home with his bat and ball, says, "I'm the greatest, that is a fact, but even I didn't know I could pitch like that." Well, he makes a great point. I assure you, I have no doubt at all, each one of you does creative things all the time. Are they things that bring you fortune and fame? Well, not always. Mine certainly haven't brought me fortune and fame. But that little boy, he had his courage and his conviction that he'd do something great. Perhaps it was first on making a home run, but he realized in the end his talent was in pitching. We've been studying Unity's 5 principles this month, and today it's time for principle number 4. So first, let's recall the sequence of the 5 principles. By the way, we still have books on the subject, and there's a free booklet in the rotunda on the 5 principles that you're welcome to take with you. Principle number 1, and I've invited you, if you haven't already memorized these, they're really the teaching that Unity puts out to the world. And as Unity students, participants in this ministry, it really will build a foundation for you to have these principles on the tip of your tongue so that it can be a tool that you can use daily in your life as you creatively meet the world. Number 1, God is absolute good, everywhere present. God is absolute good, everywhere present. Principle 2, human beings have a spark of divinity within them, the Christ Spirit within. Their very essence is of God, and therefore they are also inherently good. Principle 3, human beings create their experiences by the activity of their thinking. Everything in the manifest realm has its beginning in thought. Principle 4, prayer is creative thinking that heightens the connection with God-mind and therefore brings forth wisdom, healing, prosperity, and everything good. So today we're going to look at this 4th principle. Prayer is creative thinking. Charles Fillmore, our co-founder of Unity, actually made a statement, a little bit mysterious until you think about it. He said, prayer is the most accelerated mind action. What did he mean by that? Our most creative, powerful thoughts are those from our highest understanding of truth. And when he spoke of prayer, he didn't mean just in the church sanctuary, just with your hands folded or whatever your custom is. Those are formalities. Prayer is to see the truth, the possibility, the potential that God has set up for all of us. As Nancy shared the daily word this morning, the term prosperity is often thrown around. Unity teaches many forms of prosperity courses to develop prosperity consciousness. But I feel like we always have to remember, I have to remember, that to be prosperous is not about how many things you collect in your life. It's not like that game where whoever has the most possessions at the end wins. That's not what prosperity is about. Prosperity is your ability to consistently see the potential and prosperity that God has arranged for all creation. To really see what is prosperous are the blessings that have perhaps not yet taken form, but they're ready for your acknowledgement. The author of our book, Ellen Davenport, who wrote Unity's 5 Principles, we're studying it on Wednesday night in person and by Zoom, so you're always welcome. Even though we're in the 4th week, you can still join us because they've been exciting, exuberant conversations. Ask anyone that's been in the class, Ellen wrote in her book this idea that to say thank you when you've received a blessing, like the wonderful food we'll get after the service, when you receive a blessing, to say thank you, that's just good manners. She said, it is faith to say thank you before the blessing appears, because you recognize it in God's all possibility, in the potential of creation. There is life, substance, good, love, compassion, in unlimited abundance, waiting for you to recognize it, claim it, call it forth. Now, Ellen Davenport also says this affirmative approach to prayer, does that just turn God into Santa Claus? You just call forth all the things you want, like your list to Santa Claus? She said, no. What it does is allow you to recognize that you're a co-creator with God. God has arranged unlimited possibilities for good. But you're the co-creator who must recognize the potential, call it forth, and as Charles said, be willing to do the things that bring your good into expression in the physical world. He taught a great deal about the subject of prosperity in the 1930s. None of you were old enough, but we know people alive at that time, and it was called the Great Depression. And people were challenged. My parents were. And Charles was teaching this idea of prosperity. To see the good that God has planned for all. And then he said, do the things that bring the good into expression. And in his humorous way, he'd tell the folks in Kansas City, well, sitting at home and saying I'm running out of this and the cupboard's bare. And he said, that doesn't make for good in your life. Put your attention, your focus, where it will do some good. Catch an idea and then work to bring that idea into expression. I love there are so many inspiring ideas that came to us from Ralph Waldo Emerson, a Unitarian minister of the 19th century, who was a great inspiration to many, but particularly to Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who founded Unity and has come down today as this church in which we sit. They even named their middle child Waldo. I think I would have chosen Emerson or Ralph, but they chose Waldo for their second son. Mr. Emerson said, build your castles in the air. That's their ideals, their dreams, that's where they belong. But then get busy to build the foundations for them here on earth. So let your prayer, let your grasp of potential and possibility be as big as you're capable of. Expansive ideas. They build our energy, they build us up. But then we have to take a step and take some action toward building that foundation so that this grand castle in the sky, this great idea, has a foundation on earth to rest upon. That's what unity means by we are co-creators. God, as your source, is an infinite supply of creative ideas, of compassion toward yourself and others, goodwill in your community, your country, your world. But it is up to you to put that into action, to give it expression. Charles Fillmore considered himself a Neoplatonist, as did Rudolf Steiner, who I also teach in class during the week here. And what that meant was they believed that you could focus upon and grasp what Unity called divine ideas, ideals, and then you could give them expression. Maybe in the simplest, small little step you could take. Perhaps a neighbor or a coworker is struggling, having a hard time. Maybe that makes them irritable, difficult to work with or be around. There's unlimited love and compassion available. Are you willing to break the ice with that neighbor or coworker and make a small step toward expressing understanding to the one who's struggling? The idea of compassion and goodwill, they just can't grasp it right now because they're having a hard time. But you could open that possibility. There's a story I love. Those of you that were in our recent class, The Stairway of Surprise, know the story. It was a psychologist in New York at Presbyterian Hospital working with children who had contracted or were actually born with HIV. A hard way to start life. And they had a special group for the kids to play, have a little joy. Well, there was one mother with such a child, and she refused to let the child participate. They tried to reason with her. They tried to persuade her, but she wouldn't budge. She would not give permission for her little girl with HIV to join this group of other children. And then one day the social worker caught an idea, and she was counseling this mother and said, "Wow, this must be really hard for you. How are you coping with this child with AIDS?" She left it unspoken that the mother had exposed the child through birth to AIDS. She said, "This must be a real challenge. Are you getting the support and help you need to get through this?" And they talked a while, and at the end of the conversation, the mother said, "Well, I suppose it would be all right for Susan to join that group here at the hospital." She was willing to embrace this new idea because someone took the time to say, "I know you're hurting. I hear you." And that opened the mother's mind. And she gave permission for her daughter to join that little children's play group, which made a great difference for her daughter's life. So this is what we mean in unity. Oh, it's fine to think about all the possessions, to think about all the things that we would like to have in our life. That's part of life. That's part of our co-creation with God. to create beautiful things, good things in our life. But sometimes I think it prevents us from seeing the fullness of prosperity. And when we see someone suffering, or perhaps we're suffering ourselves, to remember, where is the train of my thought going? Where am I putting my focus? On the circumstances or on the possibility? You know, I like talking about Emmett Fox's The Golden Key. He said, any situation in your life without limit that is troubling you, shift your attention from that problem to the all possibility of God. My mother did that at the advice of a Unity minister, and not this one, someone else, when she was struggling with her granddaughter as a teenager getting into the circle of drugs and getting into very bad situations. And grandmother worried and worried. And a Unity minister said, try as you can. I know it's not easy, but shift your attention. And he said, wrap a beautiful gift box and keep it where you can see it when your mind starts to worry. And say, I can't control her life. She's your creation, God. And I know there are all kinds of possibilities that she can choose to lead her forward into a more productive life. Well, at 18, she finished school. Her father, my brother, suddenly died. It was a shock. And out of that shock, she woke up. And she said, well, it's my own fault. My colleges that I can attend are limited because of what I've done. But I'll find a way. So she found the University of Australia in Sydney and said, I'll make an adventure out of it. She went there and went to school. Came back to this country, to Tufts in Boston, and now she has her PhD in child development. Like that little baseball boy, she looked at the situation. She didn't blind herself. She said, okay, there are some things I can't do, some colleges I can't attend. She wanted to go to Stanford like her father, but it was out of the picture. And she said, that was my fault. That was from how I led my life in high school. But there are other possibilities, and I'll find them. And now, she's Dr. Danielle Stacey. We all have this possibility. If we will look at the ideal, the truth, what God has prepared for us. But we have to activate it. We have to bring it into expression, and we can. Why? Because God has created us as creative individuals, whatever our place is in life. We can do something. Ellen Davenport shares in her book, and I want you to just hear. We're talking about prayer as creative mind action, as a process we can use to place our attention, our focus on the good we want to become rather than the problem we're experiencing. Listen to these three prayers and how they're expressed differently, and use your perceptivity to see what's going on in these forms of prayer. She calls this a typical prayer. Dear God, please make my friend well. He's having surgery tomorrow. Please make sure the doctors don't make any mistakes and there are no complications. Please let him recover quickly and be with his wife because she's really worried. Did you hear how much focus there was on the problem? A traditional prayer. Let us pray for all who suffer and are afflicted in body and mind, for the hungry and the homeless, the destitute and the oppressed, for the sick, the wounded, and the crippled, for those in loneliness, fear, and anguish, for those who face temptation, doubt, and despair. Let us pray that God in His mercy will comfort and relieve them and stir up in us the will and patience to minister to their needs. Well, it might sound like setting an intention, but again, there's a lot of emphasis on the negative, on the condition. And it concludes with a plea to God to please help and inspire us to help. Here she offers an affirmative prayer in what we try to teach in unity. The healing power of divine life flows through my body. In truth, I am a creation of life, health, and wholeness. The healing power of God works through the doctors, nurses, and medications. I now align my thoughts with the original goodness in which I was created. I am grateful as I am restored to balance and well-being. I am grateful for the gifts of this experience and the greater wisdom and compassion for myself and others that I now realize. Eric Butterworth, great unity minister in New York City and author, inspired millions. I always love the fact that Oprah credited Butterworth's book, Discover the Power Within You, in the 1960s that woke her up as a young adult to the possibility and the possibility in her life. She would often have Eric on her television show. Unfortunately, Eric was a good speaker, but not a great interview guest. For every question Oprah would ask him, he'd say, yes. Where do you go with that conversation? But he did have this to say. Prayer, okay, James has got a big problem right here. He said, through prayer, I should see the solution, the possibility, beyond the problem. Do you get that spatially? Here I've got my circumstance. Look beyond it. Look through it. Remember the great American minister Robert Schuller in the Crystal of Cathedral in the Hour of Power. And he loved to start with a very affirmative prayer by saying, whatever the challenge is, go around it, climb over it, tunnel underneath it, and keep your focus on the good, the solution, the wonderful possibility. Maybe he read a little bit of Butterworth. You never know. But this idea, look beyond the problem to the potential good and then take actions that carry you toward that good, not deeper into the problem. I encourage you to, again, join us for conversation Wednesday evening, 7 to 8:30, in person or online. You can call the office for the Zoom link. But in conclusion today, before we have a moment of silence, I really want you to get a feel of the spiritual practice of these 5 principles. And what I mean by that, each one creates a therefore. It carries you further to the next principle. What could be more fundamental than God is absolute good everywhere present? If that's true, a scientist would say, therefore, God is in you. We just said God is absolute good everywhere present. So the next thought has to be, God is in you, and you, and you, and everyone. God is the creator of all. You're an expression, a child, however you want to term it. You're a creation of God. Therefore, you have your Creator's power to do what? To be creative. So you're creating your life, your world. Be conscious and aware. We're all works in progress. None of us is doing this creative process in perfection. We have obstacles, challenges. But the point of the principle is to say, well, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to approach it? We talked in class about we're all responsible for our life. But Unity likes to play with words and pull them apart. You're response-able. You're response-able. You have the freedom to choose your response to that situation. What am I going to do? Am I going to cry about it? Well, I find a good cry once in a while helps me. Let go, release. So that's okay. Do I want to cry the rest of my life? No. Is it going to get me anywhere? Well, it may give me a sense of release of the problem. But the real challenge is, how am I going to respond? What action am I going to take with this experience, this relationship, this lack of funds, this illness in my life? I'm going to do something. So what's my response? This is the 4th principle. So I invite you now, let us close this by a simple cycle. I want you to see that cycling through the principles as a prayer practice can be done simply in a matter of a minute or two. It's that powerful. It doesn't mean finding a 2-hour period in your day to work on this. So turn your attention within and feel the flow, the sequence, the order of these principles. They apply to each of us and all of us. Just invite you to close your eyes if you choose, and turn your attention into the inner reality of your life. That is not your outer actions, but the thoughts and feelings that are moving through you. Hold this thought and notice how it feels within. God is absolute good, everywhere present. Therefore, the spark of God is within me. And I realize I am inherently, from the very core of my existence, good of God. I recognize that creative thought. I am a child of the Creator, therefore, I am creative in thought, feeling, word, and action. We are ideally creative in our prayers by aligning our consciousness, our awareness, with the great truth that is God, that is us, that is me. And this leads me to the final principle. In alignment with God, that my prayer has established, now my actions express my true self. And so it is. And so we let it be. And so as you go this week, just remind yourself with a simple statement: I am creative. I choose to create good. God is the power and substance of the good that I bring forth. And so it is. It doesn't take any knowledge of Latin phrases, mysterious phrases from cultures and people long in the past. It means that you grasp in the present moment your creativity and power, because all of us have been brought forth from the God of life. Wow. To me, that is a wow, to grasp that truth for myself and for you. And so as Colleen prepares to bless us with music once again, I invite you to consider your gifts for this ministry. And as you enjoy the music, just hold that thought. What do I especially appreciate in this spiritual community that I want to reach out and support with my good, my contribution? And so it is.
Everybody gonna pray on the very last day. When you hear that bell ring the world away, everybody gonna pray to the heaven on the judgment day. Well, you can sing about the great King David, you can preach about the wisdom of Saul, but the judgment falls on all mankind and the trumpet sounds the call. All people am the same when the Lord He calls your name. Get ready, brother, for that day. Everybody gonna pray on the very last day. When you hear that bell ring the world away, everybody gonna pray to the heaven on the judgment day. Well, one day soon all men will stand, His word will be heeded in all the land. Men shall know and men shall see We all are brothers and we all are free. Mankind was made of clay, each of us in the very same way. Get ready, brother, for that day. Everybody gonna pray on the very last day. When you hear them bells ring the world away, everybody gonna pray to the heaven on the judgment day.
As the ushers bring forth our gifts, we're going to bless them. And that's not just a churchy thing. It's something you're doing all week long. Whenever you turn your attention and see the truth of a circumstance, supply, relationships. You bless it when you recognize that it's the good of God that has come forth. So these gifts that have been given to bless our community and by extension our world, we now recognize as we use our unity affirmation. Divine love flowing through us now blesses and multiplies all the good we have and give all the good. Very good. You did better than your minister. And we are grateful. It is in your bulletin. I remind myself. So, as our gifts go forth, I remind you that there is an abundance of good downstairs waiting for your enjoyment and consuming. So let us stand as we sing our closing song, one you know well, I release and I let go. My friends, as we go today, whatever activities are before us, let's conclude this hour we've shared with this essential idea, the prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a wonderful day, but first have some wonderful food downstairs.